Welcome back to another episode of the Dog Pound. We are on episode 3 now, but today is a little bit different as we've done in the last few weeks. Today we have our first guest. He's a guest that is part of our Life After lecture series. We have our first, graduated student now. And he's a special cookie, to say the least. I want to introduce you guys to Nick Moroz. Nick, welcome to the show, man. Super pumped to have you on. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Nick, for having me. We got Nick squared on today, so we're in for a good episode. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it should be doozy. Well, the reason why I wanted a little bit background, so I have Nick on first, is other than Nick has a ton of experience for his age at being 23. But also Nick and I, as a little backstory, we did end up doing some work together at the Surge. And Nick was also a student here at Brock University. And short story short as well, I'm currently living in the house that Nick lived in when he was at Brock. So it's a pretty small world, to say the least.
Are we in same room or different room? I can't remember which one you took.
No, I'm in the basement. Our one roommate Oliver, he's upstairs. But again, it's small world how that all worked out. I mean, shout out to Jake though for hooking that up. But also, let's set that aside. We're here to talk about you, your career, and I'm super pumped. So just quick again background. Nick currently works for the Calgary Sport and Entertainment Corporation in Calgary, which is also known as CSEC. So if I do refer to it as CSEC through this episode, let's try to remember what it stands for. If not, hopefully I can refer to it a bit more. But firstly, I want to go through your time at Brock. What kind of motivated you to go into Brock into sport management? What was the whole idea behind going into this program?
Yeah, I mean, it all stems really from being an athlete growing up. So I played as many sports as I could get my hands on. Started with soccer in my early days and then jumped to different sports like basketball, soccer, or back to hockey, a little bit of football here and there. And so I splashed around with that. I knew when I got into high school and kept playing high school sports that I wanted to continue this path, just more in the working sense. So I didn't find out about Brock until really late. I think it was grade 12 when I started looking at applications and saw this opportunity to work in sport and take on a sport management program where you're directly looking for a career in sport. So once I found out about that, I was immediately in love, and I kind of took every opportunity I could to apply. I went out to the school for a tour in April as well. It was really nice to get hosted there and meet some great people early on, and it kind of just jump-started me and kick-started me to want to go out east, leave home in Calgary, and check out the sport management program.
Yeah, no, perfect. And it's funny too because I think when I had Ryan on the show first guest, he mentioned too that it was just growing up as an athlete and getting into it, and then everyone's just got such a different mindset. Like, I mean, for myself, I wouldn't say I gave up on what I wanted to do in sport. I didn't think I was going to go pro anywhere, but I thought, this was my dream. Why not do it in a different capacity, right? But
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone kind of realizes pretty quick. When you're at a certain height or a certain weight in some sports, you got to take your advantages and realize, hey, maybe this is where I'll work and not play.
yeah,
So I found that out.
yeah, no, exactly. I totally get the height thing. I had my growth spurt when I was 14. I was a middle in volleyball, and then short story, I became a libero when I turned 18. So it was, I lot, yeah, I stopped growing, and those that stayed tall, they had their advantages, right? But that's what we're here to talk about is our love for sport. And I mean too, like during every year of at Brock, I found that what we get to learn is so unique compared to another program, say such as business, or even if you're just in general arts, for example. Did you find that what you learned each semester, each year at Brock translated into what you actually went into for work wise in between each year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say, unfortunately, going through the years of school when COVID hit. And so I started at Brock in 2019 and had kind of those first three and a half years dealing with the pandemic. And that made things working in sport tough. Everybody went through it just at different stages. And so I ended up working more like golf course jobs and side jobs here and there back home in Calgary. Only ended up staying out in Ontario for one summer while at Brock. But the schooling extremely applicable. Our first year was really focused on entry level classes. So you do the governance, you do the entry into sport and different leagues, and that's when you're kind of just learning. But as you get into second year and have more specifications, like I took to heart the sports sponsorship class in second year, and that really like wanted me to get into learning sports sponsorship
Hmm.
and how can I apply that to what I do in my events job in the summer or working at a golf course. How can we get a sponsor for a tournament, right? And so you find out really quickly with the SPEMA program that you can apply it to anything you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's volunteering. It's all a great experience, and each class is unique in its own way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, that's this experience I've had, and I think as well as other students here is how applicable it was. And especially for me this summer, as we did work together at the Surge, everything that I did, it was amazing how it, especially like because I was mainly focused in events, the event management course, for example, just like, you kind of sit in a lecture and you think, am I really going to need know all this? But it's amazing how quick you realize, wow, like what my professor was saying is game changing, right? And that also shows the importance of going to class, and like as you mentioned, like you kind of found an interest in like sports sponsorship, so like really paying attention to that material, because otherwise you'll end up being, I guess, a step behind. And so with that too, like while you're at Brock, you did do some work at the school, right? You're game day lead for basketball. What was, could you kind of tell us about that role, the experience, and just how that's translated to your big career jump now as a graduated student?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so it was the easiest thing when I was at school to just get a job at the university as well. You're spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day when you're there, so why not include some work, get some money out of it? So yeah, I had two jobs during my time at university. One of them was an intramural convener, so I helped out with setting up leagues, being present at the games, making sure everything ran well. But the biggest job I did have, which was my first interest, was to work in basketball, and so I was the game day lead for both the men's and women's teams. So that comes with being present for all the home games that we have with the Brock Badgers. There was a lot of planning that went in as well prior to the season. We had to hire a team of 10 to 12 staff that were in charge of managing the table. So that's everything from the score clock, game clock, stats, transition, whoever's doing the possession clock. Everyone had a different job, and so I was working with my supervisor to hire that team before the season, and then we executed on everything to our highest level each game. We have to make sure we're managing the timeouts, staying on top of the coaches for subs. Every point matters. You cannot make a mistake at the U Sports level, and so it was a really high stress job, but it introduced me kind of really to the game day experience. From the background side of things, running the whole operation of the basketball game and what it takes to get involved.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, you talked about a bit like of that high stress, right? I mean, so for myself right now, I'm doing the outdoor, and it's a lot less technical than what you would have had to go through. I mean, our most technical sport that we have outdoor is lacrosse, because there is a shot clock component. But again, like managing, overseeing the whole operation of, the stats, especially if there's live stats being tracked, the substitutions, because everything happens so quickly, right? I wouldn't say it's quite necessarily on the fly, especially in basketball, it has to be a dead ball. But again, like, did you find that having that high stress, those high stress situations really, like, help, I wouldn't say build your character, but, help, kind of figure out what you particularly wanted to work more in sport? Would you rather, it's more of a question of, you got the operation side of things, how the game ran from a backbone compared to now being in corporate sponsorship. Did that find that kind of helped you determine your, more of a passion or more of where you wanted to go into?
Yeah, I would say honestly, it was a learning experience. Right when I started, I was coming out of the second year and the basketball season was coming up, and I knew that I wanted to be involved in some way. And so I had to really take on this experience where I didn't have as much sport experience in my background, and I told them straight up, but I'm in the sport management program and I'm willing to learn and ready to be available at all times for every game, every practice, every time they needed me. And so mistakes were made. Things happen. There's basketball games where you can miss a timeout, or funny enough, in our championship game for the women's, Ryerson ended up beating Brock the year that I was there, and we had champagne from Ryerson fans drained all over the court. And so that was a completely new experience to me. We had fans storming the court in a U Sports basketball OUA championship game. Security was not there and prepped and ready to go. Our table staff team was not supposed to get involved or like help, but the men's game was an hour and a half after, and you've got champagne all over this court that's supposed to be ready for an OUA championship. So little things like that you never think would happen, but end up,
Mm-hmm.
becoming on your plate, and you have to work through it, are unique. And it was fun because you have these great people around you at Brock. My supervisor, Erica, was exceptional, and I got to
Mm-hmm.
learn so much from her and take that into my job now. So
Yeah, no, Erica is definitely. I haven't told her that we've done this yet, but I'll have to let her know. Especially that, given you've worked for her and
feel
I
free to
now
share
do
with
as
her.
well. But no, great boss. But also, like, how would you say, in a situation such as that, not expecting, I would never expect a basketball game where champagne's going to go everywhere, especially U Sport level. People, we learned a lot. At least for me, we learned so much about U Sports versus NCAA. The crowd differences, we'll say, are obviously much different, but that experience would be so unexpected. I personally wouldn't know how to react in that situation. How did you find the support of, the staff that was working with and under you, and I guess even above you, like such as Erica? How did that help, translate, like change it to, okay, hey, we've got to clean this up, figure this way out, and then now prep a men's basketball game?
Yeah, it was unique. I think that experience went directly right to the athletic director. And so she took that on and immediately, we took care of the Ryerson coach and let them know, hey, this kid's not going to be let in for the second men's game. We're going to have to send them away. Um, it was more of just like not even a mistake thing. We weren't allowed to check bags. So just this could have happened in any sort of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But our focus was immediately, okay, let's forget this just happened and move on to the next game. So call in the janitor, get the kind of sweeping machine out and clean off the court. I'm out there wiping with a towel over where the biggest spill was in center court. And so we're just trying to get everyone to be, stay away from the issue. Fans go, leave. We're going to deal with this and we'll get ready to go no matter what. And so we got it done. Boys came in. It didn't seem like it was any issue. No sticky, no falling. And it was a great game after that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the best alternative that could have happened, right? But I mean, that's one of those situations where it's like, okay, buckle down, put your head down, And as you said, you got on hands and knees and you're cleaning the court right up, right? And some people would, think in a professional setting, there's so many people that aren't willing to get their hands dirty in that way. But that is also something that, especially because if you're doing that second year at such a young age, which is younger than I am now, that's showing that, you've got a different level of dedication than others, right? And that's definitely going to help you get to your next spot, which is where you definitely worked. You work. This is the coolest part, I think. So in my first year, when you were working with the 905 Raptors, I remember you had Kyrie shoe boxes because he had left Nike, and obviously that was a whole situation. Did you find that specific experience at Brock? And I guess if you want to speak on some of your other roles in between that time and 905 Raptors, what was that whole experience like of, the interviewing process, to land the 905 job? And then what was the whole role like? You could just kind of talk to us about day to day, the whole process of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Raptors 905 internship, I was the franchise operations intern with them. And so it was a unique opportunity where I got to spend 2 weeks with the front office team and travel around to each different department. So I learned the ins and outs of sponsorship, team operations, equipment managing, coaching. Like you get to really see every different side of the team operations for a basketball team. And at that level of the NBA G League and working in Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, it was extremely unique. And I was treated very well and got to, kind of learn on the go and really be pushed my boundaries and spend every waking hour with the team, away from the team, focused on work. It was 4 months of grinding and I loved it. And so I can attribute a lot of my work with the game day operations team or game day operations job with the basketball team at Brock to getting that job. The interview process was lengthy. I think it ended up being 4 or 5 interviews over the summer. And so that was unique, but great. Take every interview opportunity you can, especially when applying for jobs. If you think that you're overqualified, underqualified, it really doesn't matter because the more you can do to work on interviewing and speaking to people that you've never met before and how you can display yourself to others to show that you're like true for the job and right for the job, it applies in every different situation in a unique way. And so I'd highly recommend people to interview as much as you can, no matter what. But through the job and what I learned, I mean, 2 weeks in every different department. I love the sponsorship again. It's what I'm doing today, and it's what I continue to love in each year. And so applied a lot of my Brock classes into each 2 weeks that I spent. So a little different when you're working with the equipment manager or coaches. You don't kind of learn that in the sport management program. But when I'm with the communications and PR team and we're drafting up our results after the game and we have to send it out to the media, that's something you learn at Brock. You're working on writing classes and things like that. When we go with the team and we have to travel and get food for them, that's something you're not going to learn at any other experience or any other job. But you need to learn how to apply yourself while you're there and take every opportunity as it comes to you.
I mean, that answer was gold. If I could I'm wanting to assume if I could re-record any segment of this entire episode,
It sounds
that,
good.
yeah, that literal segment right there was just gold. But I mean, like you touched on so much. I mean, why I want to ask about the interview process is just I haven't had the opportunity yet, especially I guess, I mean, with Ryan, I mean, he's in a completely different position. I guess,
Mhm.
and we're so early into this whole podcast thing. But the interview process is something that I feel like a lot of people, I mean, this could be a bad assumption that people shy away from. And I know, like, knowing your nature, you're super outgoing, and in an interview process, you can learn so much about, I guess, yourself, but also, like, even as you mentioned, being overqualified for something, like, you could still kind of understand more. You get more knowledge going coming out of it than you did going into it. I guess that's probably the best way of putting it. And you also make these connections, right? We're in such a world of where connections are so beyond important, and I love that you spoke about that because I've never liked interviews. I love this is easy. This is like you're just catching up, you're chatting shit, like doing whatever, right? But that's so important. I mean, that 2 week experience too is phenomenal. So would you say, like, kind of from an opportunity perspective, just look out there into the world as anything that's available, even if it's something that's not glamorous, not flashy title, but something that gives you that experience, even if it's not something you're happy with? Or what would you say, for someone that's in school and then just getting out of school, what would you say is the best course of action?
I mean, 100%. So I'll tell you a funny story about applying for the Raptors 905 internship. I was on a summer vacation with my family down in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were touring around Boston, New York, Philadelphia, seeing the East Coast, the US for the first time. And it was all super exciting to me. And we ended up going to a small little bar in Philadelphia on a random night. We just didn't have any plan to eat. So we stopped at the nearest place, little kind of, I would say dungeon bar, but it was in the basement of like this old house. And looked like it was cheap food, so my parents were into that. And as I'm bored at dinner waiting for our food, I'm scrolling through Indeed, just looking at jobs, looking at jobs.
Mm-hmm.
What's internship? I put the intern keyword in there, keep looking and scrolling, and that's when I found for the first time the game day or sorry, the franchise operations internship with the Raptors 905. It was posted on Indeed. It was sitting there, and what did I do? I clicked easy apply and done. Put my phone away and never thought about it again. 5 months later, 5 interviews later, I'm now working with the Raptors 905.
Yeah.
So you gotta be ready for any experience to come your way. Things happen for a reason, and you just got to be open to the little things that matter. I cannot stress enough that always be busy, always be taking on something new, whether it's running a podcast, whether it's volunteering at the local gym, whether it's helping out a soccer team with an extra hour or two you have in your day. It's not about stacking the resume, it's about personal growth. Like how much more can you put on your plate that's not too much for you to handle? If you can be active, if you can be learning, like everyone can provide you with a new and unique opportunity. And
Right.
you're always going to aim for those internships and those jobs and those high paying opportunities, but they come from you being a better person, taking on little things each step of the way.
Wow. That again, another gold clip right there. Like this is a top episode so far, honestly. That is one way to put it, and that's exactly, my thought process of doing this podcast is staying busy. Like, sure, being, focused on your studies first. Do not get me wrong. I was not the most, educationally fit person in high school. Like, I cared more about sports a little bit till, like, grade 11, 12. Okay, buckle down. Now I'm here. Okay, buckle down. I'm doing, that's why I stopped playing sport, to focus on the degree so I can work, a successful job. But again, I was like, you know what? Why can't I turn my passion into something such as this and share this experience with other people, for the few people that will watch it, right? But again, that's, Ryan spoke on it too, is creating that opportunity for yourself, even if it's, not there. If that job posting is not on LinkedIn or on Indeed or whichever platform you're using, find other ways to do it. If it's, something where it's like start up your own job, that is start up your own business, that's your own, that's a task of its own, right? I mean, this is a lot to manage with the job I work. I work like 3 days on, 3 days a week, and then now I've got my school on top of that. So it's like, how can you manage that? And so now, do you find? I guess you did speak a little bit on, with your, because you had so many different opportunities with 905. Then you have mentioned multiple times your passion for, this corporate sponsorship. Why corporate sponsorship? What is it about it that, turns your gears? Like, what gives you that, like, green light of, like, I just love this.
Yeah, for me, I'm in a little unique situation. My mother ends up working, or she is currently working in sponsorship, just at a different level. So her job title is actually community investment. Has worked for many different companies based here in Calgary, from the energy company NMAX to oil and gas to Shaw Communications many years ago. And so she kind of developed that understanding for me as I went through school of, hey, this is what I do. I work in community investment. We get a budget from our company each year to spend with charities and partners and sponsors and put on awards and put on events and put on, unique things that happen every year because of these large companies that are willing to do amazing and fun things for the community. And so by taking that and looking at how you can, be nice and have fun with that, I took the sponsorship side of things, from the business where we take in the money and we work with our clients, we work with our partners, we work to create new and unique marketing campaigns and, kind of create a uh, awesome new experience at a Flames game. Like sponsorship was more unique to me or interesting to me because of the opportunity. And community investment follows along the same line because you create opportunities for others. So it was a family thing for me on why I wanted to get into sponsorship. And now that I've been here for a year at CSEC and worked with every different team and all these different sponsors that I'm managing, it's been incredible.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I love the family root behind it. I think everyone, finds their own inspiration for, what they originally want to go to, what field they want to go into. And no better place, honestly, to probably start is, family or having a mentor. And those are the people, that you want to, as an individual, if it's especially outside your family, surround yourself with those people. Those are the people that are going to get you to, that next level, right? Which is where you are now. And so, like, for myself, I haven't gone the sponsorship course yet. I've got next semester, so I'm super pumped. So maybe we'll have to do a second Nick Squared episode once I do that course, so I can kind of, we could talk about what I've learned, I guess. Can you just run, I guess, me through a day to day? What's a day like in the off season now since you've been there for a year, and in season as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go over both. Right now, just for reference, we're in our busiest time of the year. Flames home openers next week.
Right.
We play on October 12th against Philadelphia Flyers, and we're really excited to bring the season back. High hopes for the Flames this year. See how our young guys do with all the struggles going on. And so it's going to be an exciting year and fun to be around. But day to day in the off season, we never have an off season, to be honest. Most of our focus is on the Flames. Actually, we do work on the other four teams. So we have the Roughnecks lacrosse team, which is part of the NLL. We also have the Calgary Wranglers, the AHL team, which is the feeder team for the Flames. We have the Calgary Hitmen, which is our Western Hockey League team here. And then, of course, the Calgary Stampeders, which is our CFL team over the summer. Right. So off-season will kind of start when all the teams either finish playoffs or don't make playoffs at the end of April and into May. And then right at the end of May, Stampeders kick off. So we're always constantly working all year round. No time for breaks. I think our only break is during the Calgary Stampede when we physically cannot work. So the off-season is unique. Coming in probably just 9 to 5, getting work done, planning things out for Stamps. If there's a game that week, I'm, ready to be there for the game, working the late hours. But the more interesting day to day is definitely in season here when we have all the teams playing at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Yeah. And so that's where things can be interesting. If it's just an office day and there's no event going on later that night, I'm in at 9, begin planning things with our partners, working on emails all day, meetings here and there internally or externally. It's really truly a marketing job. And so we focus on that during the day, but our unique application of the job comes at night when the games are on. And so we mainly have to be present at most games, making sure all of our sponsorship activations run, whether that's partners set up on the concourse giving away stuff for free, whether that's, certain sponsors have a title sponsorship, so they get everything for that game. They're giving away stuff in game. They're outside the arena pre-game. They've got bonus screen time and video time and commercials. Like they can take over everything that we provide for assets. And so that's when we really have to be hands on deck, planning, working with them all before the game and then being here for after the game. So it's a grind. That's what working in sports is. And that's what we come to show. And that's what everyone would fall in love with is the long hours, the hard work. You get a lot of great things that come from it, a lot of great experiences, golf tournaments, events, things that you can be taken out to and get from your bosses. So It's unique and it's fun.
No, exactly. And as you mentioned, sport, it's super busy. It's no 9 to 5. Anyone that thinks that is going to probably be what I was told in one of my first days in working in sport is you'll be chewed up and spat out if you're not ready for what the extra. I wouldn't even call it extra because that's all fair because it is what comes with it, right? As you mentioned, those events and the extra hours. But that's what sport isn't just anymore just sport and what you see on the field or the ice, right, or on a court. It's like there's an entertainment value. There's also relationship value, right? Like as you mentioned, like clients and fostering specific relationships. Now, for you guys, like if you're looking to bring in, I mean, if you could speak to this too, um, when you're looking into bring, say a new partnership and a new deal, that's nothing that can be done with, snap of a finger, right? Can you kind of run us through, some of like the steps to, attaining these new deals? What do for yourself, I guess, what would you look for in a brand, when bringing in another organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can speak on it a little bit now because when I first started, I wasn't really included on any of the bringing in new deals. I
Hmm.
was still learning most of the business, and our role specifically is focused mainly just on the marketing and activation side. We have a dedicated team of sponsorship salespeople that actually go out, reach out to brands, work with them on contracts, and get the sales done. But
Hmm.
just recently, in the past few months ahead of this flame season, I've been lucky enough to be included on those pre-booking calls, right? Coming up with new ideas for sponsors. How can we incorporate you into the season? What's something new and fun that we can do with the Flames or the Hitmen, right? How do we come up with something new for each partner? It's different. And so I find that with the Flames, we're pretty well set with who we have as partners. Certain partners manage certain areas and they have exclusivity over that, whether it's our airline partner Air Canada or our vehicle partner Nissan, both of which I manage here at CSEC. And so those stick and we can't really look outside of that. But with smaller partners that get involved, whether it's, a pet place or whether it's, people that are selling jerseys and we can work with them at their shop and how can we provide them with Flames merch and stuff like that. I think it's all a people business. And sponsorship sales will never change the way it's a people business. It's who you know and how can you be connected with them and talk to them on a relationship basis because that's how you're going to get deals done. At the end of the day, it's the large companies and the large businesses that spend the money, but it's the people that you meet and know through marketing and networking and going out to calls and dinners and everything like that that actually get the deals done.
Wow. That's the people part is what I've always, thought about what it would be. And just, having those there's got to be so much communication. I mean, like I guess like I'm not sure if it's even considered a partnership, but when Surge had the game at the Dome, like I mean, if you consider that a partnership, please correct me. But that is, that's something that never happened just overnight, right? But that was also the people coming down to it. Were you at all involved in that? Because like to me, that was my big like welcome to sports moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Surge game was incredible, and I'm really glad they got to have a game here at the Saddledome because
Hmm.
it was tons of fun, and we got a huge crowd out, largest CEBL crowd that we've ever had. So it was really great to see that, and while working here and with the Surge at the same time, it was like a combo of both things that I love.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. But I didn't actually get involved with that. I found out from the Surge when they were planning it. And it didn't go through partnerships. It went through our event booking team.
Yeah.
So they ended up booking the Saddledome just as a company. But yeah, Jason, Ryan, the whole team, Dylan, they all reached out and they all came over to, meet the people at the Dome and talk them through their plan. How can we bring this team and show the Calgary fans we're here, come out, come watch us. And so that was like a connection they made with our events team just to make sure that everything could go smoothly. They had all the plans and all the things in place, and then we were there to help execute it as staff.
Wow. No, that was definitely and I mean, thank you for correcting me. I guess on the event side of things, I mean that makes more sense, right? You booked the facility in itself, and I mean hopefully that could happen again. Fingers crossed before the dome goes away with the new project underway here in Calgary. Super excited for that. And I'm sure you guys are there at CSEC as well. But that was definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity. But again, just that interpersonal relationship. Do you find like you were able to develop your interpersonal skills a lot like at school or with all your different positions that you've done, or is that just something that you've taken on yourself?
Yeah, I think it was more of an extended thing for me because I can't remember a specific moment going back to different jobs that I had where it just clicked and I was like, oh, all of a sudden now I can just start talking to people. Things are
Yeah.
great. But no, like all these different jobs that I took on during school, I didn't even get to mention like working in events for the major games that was held at Niagara. So the Canada Summer
Right.
Games came out in the summer. and work there, and just different summer job opportunities from golf course to golf course. And, you have to kind of adapt when you're working in sports into building
Right.
yourself up and building up this network and this profile of yourself as you meet more people. And it can be tough, like for
Mm-hmm.
people that find that they might be introverted or not comfortable in a social setting and might not want to, explore outside of their bubble. I commend you for giving it an effort because it's difficult, and meeting new people is tough. I just joined the Sport Marketing Council of Canada here, and we have networking events in Calgary every so often. And I'm meeting people from large businesses that I've never talked to before. And I'm just in an entry level position here at Calgary Sport Entertainment. So that's unique. I'm still learning how to, work with those big business people, guys that have 20, 30, 40 years of experience working in business and sport and different companies across Calgary. And that takes time still. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and hopefully I can still develop the skills. But be open to opportunities. You don't have to just go to every networking opportunity and listen and learn. It's more about just taking your chances when you can. Go meet people on a Wednesday night that are at the Brock Badgers bar and go chat to them about what they're learning in school. Right,
Yeah.
the little things will add up, and more and more and more and more. And things like this, hop on a podcast, talk about what you're doing for work, and
Yeah.
you'll get better at it each day.
No, I love that take. And I think, like, you've exposed yourself to so much. But again, as you mentioned, that may not be for everyone, like, right away. And I mean, for me, like, even like, as much as like I know we've golfed multiple times, we've worked together, like, this is still like, it's all still a nerve-wracking experience of, like just producing this and this entire thing, right? But it's that
Mhm.
exposure. But it benefits both of us. But again, if you're someone that's wanting to work at sport, exposure works. But there's also, as you mentioned, you could talk to a random person at a bar, have a few beers. You never know what you can learn. I found that I've learned so much, and just you just end up sitting beside a random person in class, and even if you look like you're screen peeking on their computer, like, hey man, like, yeah, that was a crazy game last night. Talk about whatever that is, and you never know what you could get out of that conversation. So that's definitely an incredibly valuable piece of advice there. And I guess too, like, I guess quickly wrap up here. Just don't want to take too much of your time. You've given so much advice through this entire episode. I've said there's been a few gold moments for sure. Would you say, for someone that's in university or just graduated, looking to really get into sport, would you say that there's one or few big key pieces of advice that really helped you get to the next level? Or what would you, say to your past self, knowing where you're at now? What advice would that be?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, I mean, first thing that comes to mind for me is just learn how and when to not say no. When I was at Brock, and I've always been for many years, I've always been a yes man when people come to me for help or when people are like new job opportunities. It's yes, 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 yes. And that could be a lot on your plate, and I can understand for people who might not want to do it. But the wrong opportunities will come at the right time, and the right opportunities will always come at the wrong time. So if you know when to say no, you'll be just fine. And then when you definitely say yes to the things that are coming into your life, you'll be just fine as well. So I really think if people can get involved in volunteering, if people can get involved in helping out at school, helping with your TAs and your professors, extend it one further, go to networking opportunities, learn from small companies that need help.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to job opportunities and learn how to apply for jobs and take interviews and take on new jobs when you have the time. Uh, as much as you can put on your plate, as I mentioned before, it is a great opportunity, and it's going to set you up for a final full time career when you get out of school and when you're ready for
Wow. I mean, I think I didn't know you're a big wisdom speaker like that. That
it.
but
Yeah, this is my
that
first podcast ever. I'm just speaking from the
hey
heart.
man, we'll definitely have you on, definitely once, especially once I get a partnership sponsorship course right under my belt. But no, there's so much valuable information that you've given us today, Nick. And I mean, it's so amazing how right you are about the right opportunities at the wrong time. Because I'm exactly, especially this summer, I said yes, yes, yes to everything. And I mean, like, that's what, I was like, okay, this is like your first big sporting job. You got to do it, right? But then, you kind of realize as time goes on, like, it might be okay to say no to some things at certain times. I mean, I've been offered a few different jobs here at Brock, and it's like, what, like, looking at my plate, I can't do it as much as I know that experience would benefit me. It's like, what happens if I slip in school, for example? So there's so many different things to think about. So I guess it's important to sit back and really, like, understand your total situation, right? Of what you want to do. But again, I agree. Busy plate gets most experience, gets you to the next level. But with that, Nick, I just want to say thank you, man, for your time. I know you're at work today, so we'll let you go. But thank you so much. Really appreciate having you on as our first guest. for Life After Lectures, man. This was definitely a banger episode, and I can't wait for this one to actually drop. So appreciate it. Thank you
Awesome.
for your time, man. And we'll
Thanks, Nick.
see all you guys next week with another amazing guest. Looking forward to it. Stay tuned for more.